Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's buckle up. It's our last time to have him on the call. I can't wait to see what thus says Mr. Greg Williamson. Let me give you a little background. If you guys that don't know, he used to play for the LA Rams in 1987 for a year. One of his goals was to play on the field, and I love his first story when he came on there. Everybody doubted him. He's one day I'm gonna be on TV. They doubted him. One day I'm gonna play for them. They doubted him. They doubted it, and when he did it, they were shocked. Isn't it amazing? Once you say you're gonna do something and then you do it, they don't say nothing. All the naysayers just shut up like they never said it before. And then for the LA Rams, he opened up a sports store. And one day somebody walked in and shared the Asian opportunity. Entrepreneurs get it, guys. They get it. And with that, he saw the opportunity. He says, what I got to do, start building his business. And I love his story when he would drive from LA all the way an hour later to the meetings and drive all the way an hour back. And he was committed. And that's what it takes to build a strong organization. So without further ado, can we give a warm welcome to number 87 from the former LA Rams, Mr. Greg Williamson.
I truly appreciate that introduction. I mean, how many times can you get introduced by a senior vice president and just someone who is just a servant leader? You help people that's on your team and not on your team, and that's a true servant leader. Just wanting everybody to win, and to have somebody around that you can look up to as a mentor. That's a true blessing. So, Mr. Thomas, I really appreciate having me on this call for the month of July, the last 5 weeks, and I hope that I gave a nugget to help people move their business forward. And what's been so great throughout this month of July, I have gotten calls and text messages, and they say, Greg, you said something that really got me, moving my business forward. I never thought of it like that, but when you said what you said, it got me into action. And so that's what this is all about. I'm in the trenches just like you, and I'm, working through this. So when I'm speaking to you, I'm actually speaking to me as well, because we're all in the trenches, building our business and getting what we truly want in life. And so, Mr. Thomas, again, thank you for everything that you do. And so, before I get into my topic, I have a question to ask. I know some people have their cameras on and some people do not have their cameras on, but it doesn't matter. So, if you've been an ACN prior to COVID, prior to 2020, if you can raise your hand or even put an emoji. So prior to 2020, if you can put it, even if you don't have your camera on, just put an emoji, your hand emoji. There we go. Okay, I see some people doing it. Good, good, good. Okay, and then we do have a lot of people who haven't, and and that's okay, because what ACN is really built on is home meetings. And so Zoom came around, and when Zoom came around, it kind of watered down home meetings, but that's really our meat and potato in ACN. So the topic of my training today is to get back to the basics, and that's home meetings. When I got started, that's how I built my ACN business. I built it off of home meetings, and that's how I built it, big, just getting group by group by group and getting energy into the room. And by doing that, I was able to get people, engaged and get people excited, because they were meeting the leader I was working with, and the excitement got people started and got people going. So now tell me this, you can actually put it in the chat. What would you rather go to? Would you rather go to a music concert on Zoom or online, or would you rather go in person? Which would you rather do? Would you rather go to if you were to go to a music concert, would you rather do it online, or would you in person, right? Yep. Yeah, in person. In person. Yeah, you would rather have it in person, because for one, now you're feeling the music in person. You're feeling the music. You're feeling the musicians playing, the crowd that's cheering. Depending on what type of music it is, you're actually feeling it. Same way with live, being there live. How about a sporting event? If you're a sports enthusiast, what's better? Is it better to watch it on TV or on Zoom, or is it better to be there live? To be there live, to be there in the stands. And it's even better if you're actually in the game. It's even better because you're feeling that energy. You're feeling, people are cheering. A bunch of people at once are in the same energy, one common goal, and that's cheering for that team. And that goes to anything. A religious service. If you went to a religious service, it's good to do it online. I was watching, my church service actually online during COVID. I wasn't able to go and fellowship with other believers, and and it wasn't the same as actually being actually in the sanctuary and fellowshipping with others. So what am I getting at? That's the way home. If we're treating everything else like it's better to be there live, that's the same way with home meetings. Home meetings, getting people together and putting people into a room, and now people are feeling that energy. And like I said, I know with Zoom, it's gotten to the point where it's convenient. And I have teams, across the country where I've really built it over Zoom because I wasn't able to get into people's living rooms. But we have to get back into basics, ladies and gentlemen, and that's actually, building up a leader. So if you're doing this, if you're building a business on Zoom and that person is not next to you, there's in another state, you want to make sure that you find the leader as fast as possible, and you want to teach that leader the basics of doing Zoom. You don't want them to always think that they have to do things on Zoom. And there's nothing wrong with Zoom, but this is what I'm going to say is that, Zoom is an alternative. It's not the solution. So tell me this, if you were to eat a filet mignon, would you want it cooked the right way, maybe on a grill or how they prepare it the right way? Or would you like it in a microwave because it's convenient? I can get it microwaved quickly. You would want it done the right way. So that's the same way that we need to treat our ACN business, is to do it the right way. Zoom has kind of got a lot of us lax. Some of us got into the business after COVID, and people didn't transition back into home meetings. And, so now, that COVID is not around and people can now actually go into other people's homes. Let's get back into basics and start doing home meetings. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 7 points. So if you have a pen and a paper, please write these down, because I'm going to go over seven points that's going to actually help you with the home meeting. So if you're brand new and you're like, well, what is a home meeting? Of course, it's a meeting in your own home, but also it's an intimate setting to where people can come together. You have a leader that comes and they present the business, and that's how we're going to enroll people into your business. Now, these are the things that you need to do. Is that you need to have that the environment cozy. It has to be a winning environment. You can do something that's duplicatable. Is have chips, dip, iced tea, lemonade, finger foods. Something that people can snack on either before or after. But the main thing is no booze, no alcohol. If you have to have a home meeting and you have to have alcohol there, I'm telling you, that's a losing environment. You're not going to win. Matter of fact, if they're drinking beforehand, before the meeting, you're not having a meeting. It's just a get together. And so, like my mentor would always say, is that that person would need another meeting that starts with an A. So you want to make sure that you have a winning environment. Just have some chips, dip, iced tea, lemonade, and then also, when it comes down to home meetings, it's always good to get large groups. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because large groups bring energy. So when you first get started, or when you get someone started into the business, you want to make sure that they invite as many people as possible. The more people that they invite, the better off it is going to be for the energy. So can you imagine you're doing a home meeting and it's two people that shows up? Now, there's nothing wrong with that because it has happened and people have gotten started. But once you get done, if you said something like, "Hey, I want you to take the top three spots," and there's only two people there, I mean, it's not the same as if you had a large group and say, "Hey, who wants the top three spots?" and watch what happens. So, for example, some years ago, I went to a home meeting in Los Angeles, and my coach and mentor, Mr. Dean Tirali, he was actually doing the presentation, and we had about 15 to 20 people. And so after the presentation was done, Mr. Tirali said, "Hey, look, we have three spots for this individual, this leader that we're building, and who wants to take the top three spots?" And this is what happened, because it was so many people in the room, they started to fight for those top three spots. Matter of fact, it was people fighting, going out, running out to get their credit cards and debit cards because they wanted to take those top three spots because what the energy that was provided at that time made people move into action. So so, like I said before, you definitely want to have a large group when you start your home meeting. The first thing that you need to understand is that the home meetings are about creating an environment of energy, connection, and duplication. The size of the group doesn't change the principle. It means that you need to be more intentional when preparing for execution. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you approach this. This is why I want you to have a pen and paper because I'm going to give you 7 steps. It's the first step is to set the stage for success. Now, environment matters. You want to make sure that the space is clean. It doesn't matter if it's a small space. You can have a small house and still invite people over, but you want to make sure it's clean. Clean it up, because this is what happens when people come over. See, they're judging, should they join you right from the moment that they walk in the door. So you want it to be clean, organized, have enough seating. Make sure that you have enough seating so people can sit down and enjoy the presentation. If you're expecting a large group, consider using a large room. You can do this in your garage, or even if you can't do it in your home, you can have a small community space. But it still needs to be intimate. Have an intimate setting, and the goal is to maintain that home feeling, that vibe, that warm and inviting. Now, you want to make sure that when people show up, you want to, have music playing because when people come in, you want to have some music playing because you want people to come in early, so the presenter can actually meet your guests, and or if you're the presenter, you want your new IBO to make sure that their guests come early so that you can meet them and you can actually get a rapport. Now, for large groups, you can't do this alone. So if this is a large group and you have different team members there, you want to make sure that you have everybody play team. Even if there's a team member that doesn't have an IBO or a guest at the meeting, they still need to play team. It's all about playing team, and team stands for together, everyone achieves more. So you want to make sure that you play team. Everyone plays team. If it's in a little hall, everyone plays team. So you want to assign the role to the team members, have someone greet the guests as they come through the door, have the music playing, have good vibes going. Another person handling refreshments, another person managing presentations. I've been to presentations before where some people come and they didn't have guests and they were just there, and they're walking around. One person's in the kitchen cooking, and it's just people weren't engaged. So do you think people got started in the business at that time? No, because it wasn't a winning environment. So you want to make sure that you create a winning environment so that way everyone wins. And so also when the you want to create a clear, this is number so number two is, hold on just for a second. Number two is leverage your team. And that's what I say, leverage your team. That's number two. So number one is set the stage for success. Number two is leverage your team. And that's where you want to have large groups. You want to assign people to win. Number three is create a clear agenda. See, people respect structure. Like I said before, when people come into the home meeting, they're actually judging from the time that you walk in. They're judging the presenter. They're judging, how, what is this? If this is something I need to get started with, who am I going to be involved with? So you want to make sure that you start on time. If you say that the meeting is going to start at 6 o'clock, start it right at 6 o'clock. If your favorite person is not there, you still start it at 6 o'clock. Let everybody know what to expect. For example, have someone to go up and introduce, and it's normally the host. Have the host get up and introduce the speaker. Now, the host shouldn't go up and say something like, "Hey, my name is Greg, and this is uh, you know, Al, and he's going to do the presentation," and then sit down. you want to have an introduction. You want to talk. You want to start it off. Welcoming everyone into the room. You know, um, Introduce yourself. Why you got started and what this has done for you. And because of the training and support, you were able to move your business forward. So you want to make sure that you are welcoming and that you have some energy. The person in front of the room, the host, should have some energy to help bring the actual presenter up. Now, the presenter needs to share his or her story, and then go into the opportunity, go into what this is. And all this should be within the first 20 to 25 minutes. It doesn't need to be, if you have a long drawn out presentation that's lasting 30, 40 minutes, you're going to lose some people. So you want to make sure that you go over your story and the opportunity for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then lastly is that you want to have testimonials. Folks, people need to see, does this work? And the testimonials is what works. Stories sell. So you want to have at least 2 to 3 testimonials, and those testimonials need to be coached. Is the reason why what this has done, and it's all through to the training and the support of the system. So people need to know that it's a system on how to be successful in your opportunity or in this business. And then also, then when actually the presentation is over, that's when it really starts. See, it starts actually. The home meeting starts actually at the beginning, like the very beginning when people show up, and that's why you want people to come in early, and then at the end is that because that's you want people to actually to relate to you, and you will relate to them. So it actually starts after the meeting. That's after the presentation is over. That's when the real engagement starts. So I remember, being recruited to play college football, and this is what I did is. I had a lot of schools that was coming at me at one time, and I could have went to just about any big school, but I went to one big school, and it was a well-known school, but I didn't feel it when I arrived on campus for my recruiting trip. I didn't feel the love. The coach wasn't really inviting. Matter of fact, some of the players that were there, it was a little real cliquish. Some players were from one region of the country, another from another region. I just didn't feel any love there, and so I wound up not going. And I went to a quote unquote a lesser prestigious school because when I got there on my recruiting trip, man, I felt the love, not just from the coaches, but from the players. Some of these players I had played with or played against, and so there was actually a connection, and that's the reason why I went to Fresno State because I felt the connection not from the players, not just from the players, but from the coaches and from the community. So that's the way that you want to make sure that you treat your home meeting is that you want to connect with the guests that come in the room, and everyone has to play team. It can't just be the host. If they just have the guests, everyone needs to play team because remember we want everyone to win. Now, this is number 4 is focus on the energy and engagement. This is so huge. You got to have energy, just like in any type of rock concert or anything that you're going to go to. You want to make sure that there's energy there. So large groups sometimes can feel impersonable. So your energy has to be magnetic. Make eye contact if you're the speaker, move around the room, involve the audience, ask questions, share relatable stories, because remember, stories sell, and keep the tone conversational. Remember that people don't just buy into an opportunity, they buy into you. That's number 4. Now, number 5 is use tools for duplication. This is something that, I like what Mr. Thomas does is that when he has, a presentation in a room full of people, he actually gives them something to put in their hands. He put the 1 through 10 in their hands. So you want to put something in their hand. I like to give people. This is like the impact. So I'll put something in their hands so they can actually touch and feel as I'm going through the information. But you want to make sure that everything is top notch. Everything is up and working as right. I mean, not right before, well before people show up. You want to make sure that your computer, your monitor, or whatever you're showing that presentation on, you want to make sure everything works properly. There's nothing worse than you trying to make you having technical difficulties because something didn't work, or you're having problems. Now, I'm not saying that those things happen, but if you can make sure that those things aren't in place before. You will make sure everything's in place beforehand, so that way you don't have problems and everything runs smoothly. See, the goal is for the people, the guests, to think, "Hey, I can do this, man. I mean, this is simple. All I gotta do is just bring people, and this is what happens. I can do this and I can win." And that's number five. And then number six is end with a strong call of action, folks. Do not let the energy fizzle out. That's why I say it's really strong to the meeting after the meeting. That's when, that's where the connections happen. That's how people get started into your business. At the end of the meeting, clearly outline the next steps, whether it's signing up, scheduling the next home meeting, or attending a follow-up. Remember, book a meeting from a meeting. Bam, fam. That works, folks. You always, when that guest leaves, you want to book a meeting from a meeting. So, and they're walking out the door and they want to see more, or even if they start up, you want to make sure that you follow up. You want to book another meeting. And then, folks, we run a professional business. This is number seven, is that you follow up like a pro. Be a pro. Remember, I said before, there's difference between being a professional and being a pro. There's a total difference in that. So follow up like a pro. The fortune is always in the follow up. Have a system in place to connect with the attendees in your first 24 to 48 hours. So if someone walks out the door and they don't get started, you want to make sure that you follow up in the next 24 to 48 hours. Matter of fact, if someone gets started, you want to make sure that you follow up in the next 24 to 48 hours, because we want to get that person a result. We want to start building their business right away. And whether it's on the phone, text, or email, which I prefer phone, it's always phone. You hear someone's voice, make sure that you get in contact with that person. Always make it personal and remind them of the excitement that they felt during the meeting. And remember, the magic of the home meetings isn't just in the presentation, ladies and gentlemen. It's in the connections. People follow people. That's what this is. People don't follow companies. People follow people. That's why a leader can leave one company, go to another, and people follow, and then that company blows up because it's the leader that they're following. So you should build and believe build and believe what you instill, whether it's 5 or 50 people. The principle remains the same. Keep high energy, keep it simple, and definitely keep it duplicatable, because this is what you want to do. You see, if you got home meetings that's going on in Los Angeles, California, you want those same type of home meetings happening in Dallas, Texas. If those and you want those same type of meetings happening in Cleveland, Ohio. You want everything on your team to be duplicatable. And it starts off with you starting to do home meetings the right way, getting the energy and the purpose. And when you start doing that, you're going to actually create a movement. And now your business will start moving by yourself, because not only are you doing home meetings, but you got people on your team doing home meetings. So in closing, ladies and gentlemen, the goal is to get back to home meetings. Zoom is great. Zoom is okay. Zoom is where you can teach more, you can catch more people in places that you probably couldn't catch them. But the meat and potatoes of this business is home meetings. So if you haven't taught your team how to do home meetings, starts today. Say, hey, look, from now on, we're going to start doing home meetings, and watch your business grow, because that's how you actually do it. Doing it live instead of doing it on TV or Zoom. So, Mr. Thomas, that's what I have. I just, that was just kind of my spirit. I just think that, Zoom is kind of became the thing of network marketing, and it's more of a watered down. It's a watered down component, and it doesn't give the results like it would really give if you had people in your own home. So this is the last thing, is that, I have two teams growing in Los Angeles, and that's about 2 hours from me, from where I live. And, I can do Zooms, from my home on my computer just like this. But, I elected to go down and actually sit with these teams and actually build just like how I built in the older days, and that was through Zoom. Because getting in my car, driving through LA traffic, going 2 to 3 hours is way more worth it than me to sit here, on the computer and try to build my business this way and have no connection. So, I'm living it. It was just something that was on my spirit that I want to reach out for the month, the last day of July. And, I hope that someone takes heed to this training, and let's just build businesses through the right way, and that's home meetings. So, Mr. Thomas, back to you.